Hey guys, Kyle from Gizmodo Japan here. This is the camera I have been waiting for. A video-centric camera with no compromises, but still has the option to do occasional stills. You can never really have the perfect hybrid camera for all scenarios, but this camera comes really close to it. A lot of reviews are focusing a lot on the camera specs, but in this video I will be mainly talking about using the camera, the approaches I made, and what I learned. Though I only used it for less than a week, is it enough for me to change systems? Let's find out. The A7S III has several recording codecs. XAVC-HS4K is Sony's iteration of H.265, which shrinks the file sizes down by a lot. Though, this puts more strain on your PC to decode when it comes time to edit. There's also H.264 XAVC-S and XAVC-SI, both in 4K and HD. All of these codecs offer 10-bit 422, 420, and 8-bit. All of these codecs also go up to 4K 120 FPS with a slight crop. I was using XAVC-SI most of the time for the best quality. The difference between XAVC-S and XAVC-SI is XAVC-S, or long GOP, has frames encoded in groups, whereas XAVC-SI is each frame being encoded individually, which is typically better for motion. And the biggest difference is going from 8-bit to 10-bit. That's a difference of 16.7 million colors in 8-bit and 1.07 billion colors in 10-bit. Sony also offers a newly developed CFast Type A card to open up more recording options, including 240 FPS, all-I, 1080p. Though, I was able to use the regular XAVC-S 1080p codec using a V90 SD card to record the S&Q 240 FPS, and it looks awesome. The A7S III supports ProRes RAW when recording to an Atomos recorder. ProRes RAW isn't usable at all in DaVinci Resolve. Some of you may have also noticed a different look to the video I uploaded during the Apple event of Kanemoto-san. Though this was shot in 4K and downscaled to 1080p in the render, it still looks impressively sharp, despite YouTube compression. Fortunately, with the 10-bit 422, there's a lot of flexibility that Sony now offers compared to its previous cameras. Most of the time, the image coming from the camera is really wonderful, and a lot of this has to do with the advertised 15 stops of dynamic range, which is really impressive coming from such a small form factor camera. Compared to other cameras I worked with, it's so easy to slap on any LUT in post and have it look great. I was using S-Log3 about 95% of the time. The base ISO in this gamma mode is 640 and 12,800. This means at ISO 640 and 12,800, the dynamic range is widest. When going from 640 to 12,800 progressively, the image gets fairly noisy, but it cleans up. At 12,800, the image is still very usable. Much of the color data is retained. When using this camera with in-camera stabilization turned off, it even records the gyro data. This is the best way to get the most control over how much stabilization your video has, and it's super accurate. Using the Sony Catalyst Browse software, you can customize how much stabilization you want your video to have, and it is objectively better than the in-body stabilization or active stabilization. I won't lie, there are some things I wish this camera had that would make it an even better camera. Video focus tools such as false color, which I rely on very heavily when it comes to the Blackmagic or when using the Ninja 5. The menu system, while very much improved over the past cameras, still needs a little bit more work. I think this is mostly due to the lack of screen space. It felt a little cramped. though I think I will get used to this. The function menu, as always, is very nice and very customizable like previous cameras. I think I will be relying on autofocus more and more, so being able to change the speed and stickiness of the autofocus is awesome. Personally, I've attached a small rig cage to it with a Peak Design clutch for maximum comfort. The one downside to the camera body is when changing the mode dial. You have to press the button down in the middle, simultaneously spinning the mode dial. The cage gets in the way, and this what makes should be a one-handed operation a two-handed operation. I would have liked if you only had to press down the button once and then be able to move the mode dial freely, pressing it again to lock it into place. Another thing I appreciate is the port covers. They don't get in the way, are easy to unhinge, and don't flop around like other cameras. Plus, full-size HDMI. The Sony a7S III was everything that Sony promised. You get what you pay for here. The awesome recording codecs, ergonomics, improved usability, and the image quality is really amazing for the price. So, is this camera enough to get me to switch from Blackmagic? Short answer, yes. I wanted a camera that I could take out on a day trip, something that wasn't excessive and didn't need accessories to make it work the way I wanted it to. Over time, my needs have changed when it comes to cameras. The biangular screen, autofocus. When alone, these things make shooting video so much easier. Sure, it might not have XLR preamps with phantom power, though Sony does have an accessory for that. But the Sony is too useful in other regards. The battery life is awesome. I don't think I'll ever need to use a giant V-mount battery. The a7S III is a fantastic performer out of the box, and it will continue to be for years to come.